Let's be honest. If you've ever stood in the produce aisle staring at those small, reddish-brown bulbs and wondered, wait, is that just a tiny onion? You're not alone. Shallots and onions have been confusing people for centuries. Some cooks swear they're interchangeable, others insist they're worlds apart. So today, let's dig in, peel back the layers, pun very much intended, and settle this once and for all. Onions versus shallots. What's the real difference? Let's find out right here on History of Food. First up, let's talk about the onion. The humble onion is basically the Beyoncé of the vegetable world. It's been around forever, shows up in everything, and makes you cry a little every time you see it. Sometimes out of pure emotion, sometimes because of sulfuric compounds. Onions are a staple across almost every cuisine. They come in varieties: yellow, red, white, sweet, and even those tiny pearl onions that make you question whether peeling them is really worth the effort. Their flavor ranges from sharp and pungent when raw to sweet and caramelized when cooked low and slow. And here's the thing. Onions aren't subtle. They announce themselves in a dish. You know when you're eating onions, whether it's the crunch in a burger, the base of a curry, or the golden sweetness in French onion soup, onions don't whisper, they belt. They're the loud uncle at the family barbecue who tells the same story every year, but you secretly love it. Now let's turn to the shallot. If the onion is Beyoncé, then the shallot is more like Adele, elegant, smooth, and deeply emotional, but with less screaming. Shallots are smaller, usually covered in a papery reddish-brown or gray skin, and when you peel them, you often find 2 or 3 cloves inside, kind of like garlic and onion had a baby. Flavor-wise, shallots are milder and more refined. They've got a delicate sweetness with just a whisper of sharpness. Raw shallots don't punch you in the throat the way raw onions can. Instead, they nudge you gently and say, "Darling, may I add a bit of grace to your vinaigrette?" This is why shallots often show up in salad dressings, sauces, and French cuisine. They're the vegetable equivalent of someone who sips fine wine while reading poetry, while onions are chugging a beer and cheering for their football team. Onions have been around since ancient Egypt. Seriously, archaeologists found onions in the eyes of mummies, possibly as some sort of afterlife snack. They were prized for their durability and long storage life, which made them essential in old trade routes and armies. Shallots, on the other hand, are believed to have originated in Central or Southwest Asia. They gained popularity in Europe, especially France, where they became the darling of fine cuisine. French chefs practically worship shallots, using them in everything from béarnaise sauce to coq au vin. To them, onions are a workhorse, but shallots are art. Here's where things get interesting. Onions and shallots behave differently in the pan. When you cook onions, their sugars caramelize, creating deep, sweet flavors that make French onion soup possible. They can handle heat, sauté beautifully, and add volume and body to a dish. Shallots, meanwhile, are more delicate. Cook them gently and they'll melt into a sauce, creating a subtle background flavor without taking over. But if you cook them too aggressively, say high-heat stir-frying, they can burn quickly and turn bitter. So onions are like a tank, tough, loud, and ready for action. Shallots are more like a violin, fragile, precise, and easy to ruin if you're careless. Both onions and shallots pack nutrients and antioxidants, though let's be real. You're probably not eating them to hit your vitamin quota. Onions are lower in calories and packed with vitamin C, B6, and fiber. Shallots, while slightly more calorie-dense, contain higher concentrations of certain antioxidants and minerals like potassium and manganese. Translation? Both are healthy. But let's be honest, most of us are too busy dunking onion rings into ranch sauce to think about antioxidants. Now, the million-dollar kitchen question. Can you substitute one for the other? The short answer, yes, but with caution. If a recipe calls for shallots and you only have onions, you can usually swap them out. Just use less onion since the flavor is stronger. A good rule is 1 medium onion for 3 to 4 shallots, but keep in mind, the dish might taste a little bolder than intended. Speaking of onions, did you know that it makes you cry because of a compound called syn-propanethyl S-oxide? It irritates your eyes, causing tears. Shallots do this too, but usually less dramatically. Now, if you're still confused, we're giving these two personalities. Onions are the extroverts, loud, present, and impossible to ignore. Shallots, on the other hand, are introverts, subtle, thoughtful, and best appreciated in quiet moments. So now you might be thinking what you should use. Well, the truth? Use whichever suits the dish and your mood. If you want boldness and body, onions are your go-to. If you want refinement and a touch of elegance, reach for shallots. And if your budget says absolutely not to shallots, don't sweat it. Onions will always have your back. At the end of the day, onions and shallots are like cousins in the allium family. They share DNA but bring different vibes to the table. One's a versatile workhorse, the other's a delicate specialist. Together they prove that in cooking, there's no one-size-fits-all answer, just choices that shape your flavor experience. And honestly, that's the beauty of it. Cooking isn't about strict rules, it's about personality. Sometimes you want bold and hearty, other times you crave subtle and refined. Onions and shallots give you that spectrum without making things complicated. And there you have it, onion versus shallot. Hopefully, this little breakdown saves you from future produce aisle confusion and maybe even impresses a date when you casually drop the difference over dinner. So, are you team onion, team shallot, or maybe both? Drop your answer in the comments, and let's see which one wins the popularity contest. If you enjoyed this video, please check out our other bingeable channels. Thank you for watching. If you have suggestions for our next video, feel free to share them in the comments below. We'll be sure to give you an acknowledgement for your contribution.